Busted. So hopefully everybody had good holidays. All their loved ones were safe, and everybody got plenty of good food and full stockings, whatever it is. So we're going to call this season 2 of Mongrel Politics, and as much as possible, I and Luella want to start talking about solutions, actual ideas about how we could make things better.
And when you say we, not just you
not
and
just
I.
not just she and I,
Right,
all
like
of us.
people, working people.
And of course, we're the ones in the room. So, she's at some point going to be throwing out some ideas. I'm going to be throwing out some ideas. And I want to make it abundantly clear that these are ideas, okay? And a part of the problem that we have in our country right now is that, let's say you're standing around with some friends and you're talking about something and you're like, well, why don't we just do this? And people start dogpiling on you. Well, that's stupid, and da 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 da. And then instead of kind of taking apart whatever idea or whatever solution you have and sort of saying, well, why would this work or why wouldn't this work? Or you guys brainstorming and now maybe you change your idea a little bit. It tends to turn into, oh, well, that's dumb, or that's not going to work. Da, 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 da. So, we beat it like a dead horse with, we'll call it season 1, about social media and how it has kind of broken our ability to have conversations. And that's how we, the people, can start to come up with the ideas that we could actively spread on social media, that will start to filter their way into the minds and ideally the mouths of the people that we elect to represent us.
And they can get refined along the way.
Oh yeah,
as people
that's
put
that's
input in, like, hey, what about this? Or, well, if we did that, it would cause this
Yep.
problem. So you can kind of tweak the idea and figure out ways that you can along the way address some of the potential issues. And because
Yep.
you're not going to see every issue. When you talk to somebody, they see it from a different perspective. They can raise some concerns. You can address those concerns and figure out some solutions together to make the whole thing work.
100%. And it's funny. This is okay. I'm about to make we had an idea where I wanted to go and what I want to talk about, but actually, just this conversation that we're having, I'm going to provide an example. Okay, this will be my first solution for societal problems of the new year, and it's a perfect example of, because I am proudly not left and not right. I pride myself on being a person who kind of puts a flag in the ground between my feet, not aligned with either side.
So if you're not leaning right or leaning left, you're a balanced person, and that's how you're supposed to
be. Which is for there's a certain segment of the American population who tends to be more on the left side, and being balanced or centered is not the same thing as being
a moderate.
Yeah, a moderate, which are this group of people in the country who talk a good game about the left, but really at the end of the day, they're only interested in maintaining the economic status quo, making sure that stock dividends and buybacks and do well, but small town America slowly gets hauled out and all your manufacturing. It was centrist, moderate lefties that signed the North American Free Trade Agreement and started sending our factories over to China. So not that kind of that kind of centered and moderate.
Yes, that kind of sell out the working people.
So instead of burying the lead, I'll just say I, for years, have had this idea because I have friends on the left who believe, friends and loved ones and family members on the left who believe very strongly in and it takes a whole bunch of different forms. So don't let your mind fixate on one, but welfare. Okay. And I also have a lot of friends on the right who have very different views on welfare. And it is because I have conversations with people on both sides that I, in my little egg-shaped head, have come up with what I think is a really good balance. And so, the idea that might solve some problems in the world that I have carried around with me about welfare reform would be something like this: that anybody who wants to or is in a place where they need to file for some form of welfare, be that housing assistance, be that SNAP benefits or food stamps, which right now at this moment is kind of topical because a bunch of SNAP benefits have been, taken away. And there are some interesting nuances on that. This is not where I'm trying to go, but it is important to say something that I didn't think about, but I was made aware of just last week, is that I'm sure some of you watching believe that SNAP benefits are for the people who actually get the food stamps, right? And whatever you think about them. But the real beneficiaries of food stamps are actually grocers, because the food stamps, when they get handed in at the grocery store to buy whatever it is that they buy, okay, the government, federal, state, local, then reimburses those grocery stores for the monetary value of those. So there are some economic estimates that say that, like, the shutting down of the SNAP benefits at the federal level is going to cost the grocery industry billions of dollars, and that is potentially going to lead to an inflation of the cost that you and I pay at the checkout. That's one of those nuanced points, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want to stick with and every one of these ideas, there's more to it than just what we think, what we feel, or what we're seeing in the headlines. There's more going on under the surface, and that's where we need to be able to have the conversations to sort of bring these things that we hadn't thought about before into it. So
right. And the other potential consequence is that rural grocery stores could
close outright. Yep. And that's something that's also potentially happening in the healthcare industry right now. That rural hospitals
closing.
are going to be
exactly,
closing
because of the Medicaid cuts.
Yeah. So all of these things, there's more going on than what you think. You might not want your tax dollars to go to fund this thing, but it doesn't just go there. We talked in the last long form video we did about monetary velocity and money moving through the economy, that, like, wherever your tax dollars go, they don't just go to the individual who benefits them. That also goes to, businesses. Some of them we like, some of them we don't like, but then it continues to move through the economy. So all this stuff is a little more complicated than we'd like to be. But for my hot take example, that when somebody applies for food stamps or benefits or housing assistance, I personally have felt for a long time, because some of the attitudes and the viewpoints that my friends and loved ones on the right have expressed, they're kind of right. That if you give somebody benefits, money, food stamps, cheap housing, okay, without any strings attached, you are basically enabling and encouraging dependence.
Right.
And there has been a lot written about how, like, a food stamps is a really good example, that, like, if you're on food stamps, let's say you're a single mom, you escaped an abusive relationship, and the first job that you could get because you were a single mom, you were following that traditional kind of old school marriage thing. You're in your 30s, you've got 2 kids, and you left the husband who was abusive, but he was also the breadwinner. So now you're out there as an adult trying to raise 2 kids, and the only job you could get was a job at, say, Walmart. Okay. Fun fact: Walmart actually has staff that will help you fill out your your food stamp benefits because they know they're not paying their employees enough to live
Wow.
on.
Wow.
But that's a whole other subject. That now you have put this person into a position where they are dependent upon those food stamps just to survive. We're not even talking about, like, we're talking about somebody who is not in a position where they can go out and they can work 40 hours and then they can spend 20 to 30 hours a week at school getting a degree to go do something else because their childcare costs are as much as what they make. This is a person who doesn't have a whole lot of options, right? So they're sort of trapped in a job and they need to feed their babies and they need to feed themselves. And so they sign up for food stamps. Okay, that's fine. That's kind of what food stamps is there for, right? To help people out. But the problem with the current system is that if that person, let's say, gets they show up to work every day, they do a good job, and their boss likes them because they've got a work ethic. And now they get a raise or they get a promotion to a shift lead. And now their food benefits are here, okay? And they get a raise and it moves them just this much over the cutoff that there's either a total or they fall above the income line that lets them collect those food stamps. So instead of it maybe being a gradual shift, right? Let's say if you get that raise, the loss in benefits actually means that you're now losing money. And that's sort of the problem with the system, is that it incentivizes them to stay right where they are, because if they move up, they lose those benefits. And when they lose those benefits, now their cash output is greater than what the raise they got. So getting a raise or getting ahead
throws the whole thing out of whack.
It throws the whole thing out of the whack. It actually moves them back 2 steps if they move forward 1 step. And so for years, I've seen this as a legitimate complaint that some people have about the welfare system. And that legitimate complaint is enabling or encouraging or incentivizing this whole system of creating people who are dependent and then designing it in such a way that they have an incentive to remain dependent, okay? Mm-hmm. In my opinion, the way I would implement any kind of housing or food assistance is that unless you have either certified mental health or physical health professional that can say you have a disability and therefore you cannot, and that is a very small percentage of our population, okay? I'm not trying to be ableist here, but the fact of the matter is the vast majority of people are able-bodied, okay? If you are not in that category, well, we can do something different for those people to make sure that they are taken care of, okay? But for everyone else, if you are at a position or a place in your life where you require some kind of benefit assistance to make it, it comes with strings attached. And these strings are not demoralizing and dehumanizing, being raked over the coals, called into office, having people coming to your home and scrutinizing how you live your life. That's not good for anybody's mental health. And if it's bad for your mental health, it affects your productivity and your ability to continue to be a contributing member to society. The strings attached that I would impose upon those is that you're now going into a job training program. You're now being funneled into a program that connects you with, let's say, a skilled labor apprenticeship. That if you're going to get benefits, the benefits aren't just cash money in your pocket or cheap rent or something like that. The benefits are also a clear-cut pathway to help you maximize your potential or pursue your dreams, right? If you want to be a nurse, if you want to be a machinist, if you want to be a carpenter or get into building trades, or let's say you want to get a business degree or something like that, that if you're going to be on food stamps, well, guess what? You're also going to get yourself hooked up with the job training program or the mentorship or the pathway to, anything like that.
And there's some states that have that.
Yeah, yep.
Like Michigan actually has a lot of programs along those lines.
Well, we have the one that I'm aware of is that we have a program called Michigan Works here in newsflash, everybody, we're in Michigan, which is why I reference the Rust Belt and the big three auto manufacturers. We have Michigan Works here, and I did make use of them at one point. And I used to live in northern Idaho, and I don't remember what the name of the program was there. But if having experienced both of these programs, I would say Idaho was doing it in a much better way than Michigan was. Okay. The Michigan Works program brings you in and it will teach you, it will run you through some aptitude testing. It will put you through some skills testing to kind of see where you are in your capabilities and abilities. And then it will give you aptitude testing to show you where your strengths would lie. And then from that, it will show you what careers you would be good at, right? And they will help you get access to either discounted or fully covered educational opportunities, okay? Where I believe Idaho was doing it in a more superior fashion is not only did it have aspects of that, okay, but it also had a very, like, it was all geared towards job placement. And Michigan Works has no job placement component to it. They try to put you in a position so that you can go out and do it on your own. But as somebody who has had a kind of interesting path in life myself, and I've known other people who can be very talented and very smart, but they also have certain deficiencies, whether that's autism, whether that's various learning disabilities, there are aspects of the way you find jobs or advance in your career in the American system that creates roadblocks and difficulties for people who do not fit in a very narrow typical. It's just like with our education system. That's another one I can propose of the hot take and how we fix that. But at the end of the day, our education system was built, designed, and is still geared towards educating people to go and work in factories during the Industrial Revolution. That world no longer exists. We're not teaching the technical skills. We're not teaching critical thinking. We're not teaching true civics. I don't ever remember being taught constitutional law or really the depths of how, and again, that varies from school system to school system to school system. But the way we are taught in America is a one size fits all. And we now know that there are visual learners, there are tactile learners, and there are auditory learners. So some people will learn very well by being lectured to. Other people will learn very well by watching videos. Other people will learn very well by putting their hands on it and actually doing the work. And if they don't learn in the way that we teach in school, which is having a person up at the front talking at you, if you fall into those other two categories, then the education system doesn't work as well for you. So to kind of close it up, like I just threw out, you know, a critique of our education system and the way it's done. I threw out a possible way of doing our welfare system differently. And these are the kinds of solutions and ways that we want to start to talk about things over this next season that don't get talked about in the media. Because when you talk about welfare in the media, it's yes or no. It's all or nothing. Okay, and just like it's either red or it's blue. You're either a Democrat or you're a Republican. You're either a libtard or you're a fascist. Like there's no in between. And that's why the country has gotten where it is now. And again, that is the hope for myself and Luella, that we can sort of contribute to the voices that are saying we need to have more nuance. We need to be able to have better conversations, and we need to feel safe to propose ideas, okay, that are not being proposed in a lot of other places. And then let's have a conversation about it. What is the problem that might be with that? And what is the way that we could tweak these ideas? You know, so going forward, we're going to start to have these discussions where we will allude to some of the other things that we've already discussed. But we want to start to talk a little bit more about, like, what's a better way that we could be doing things? Like, if you don't like the way things are being done now, how could we do it? And so I guess this is just the, hey, welcome back, happy new year. This is what you can start to expect from us kind of going forward. And again, please, we need this channel. It's cringe. I hate to do it. We need this channel to grow. And that means, again, the simplest thing you do is like, or just throw a little heart emoji in the comments. Like, keep it simple. But if you want to go that extra mile, offer us your own opinions. Let's have a little discussion down in the comments. When we have time and we're available, we'll definitely respond. But even between amongst yourselves down there, have conversations and solve the world's problems. And then again, sharing and helping us kind of spread the message of, hey, let's have some grown-up conversations. We all love this country. We all love our communities. And where we're at right now is sick and broken and gross.
Yeah, let's actually make it better instead of just like sloganeering about wanting it to be better.
Throwing more logs on the fire.
Yeah.
No more
Amen.
fires. Yeah.
All right. Cool.